Hey, what's going on, you guys? My name is the Raptor, and welcome back to the Christmas season of Who'd Win and Why. And this time we got Ragman going up against Ragdoll. Yes, that's right, it's two rag-type people, both from DC, Ragman being a good guy and Ragdoll being a bad guy. Now, before I move on with this episode, I just want to make one thing perfectly clear. This episode might not be the most accurate when it comes to different facts, because I don't really know these characters too much at all, or at least I didn't know them that much at all before I started doing research and before research was collected for this episode. I only really heard of Ragdoll previously, and Ragman I had barely heard at all, and I didn't really even know everything about Ragdoll. So I did do some research and I did get research collected, so I do know a lot more about the characters now, but just know that research is what I heavily had to rely on, so it might not all be correct, or there might be some crucial things I'm missing. I don't really believe so, because the research that was done I believe was pretty thorough, but who knows. Again, if there is something I missed that is true, or if I got something wrong, then please feel free to tell me in the comments below, because I'm always willing to hear that. But let's just move right into the episode. So, who would win and why? Let's find out. So first I'm going to talk about Ragman. Now, Ragman's best ability is actually his own suit, which is made out of different rags. Now, some of you may be wondering, well, why is that the case? Well, pretty much the suit gives him all of his abilities, but the main ability is actually stealing the souls of its victims. So pretty much I wouldn't want to say he's like a spirit of vengeance type person, but basically what he does is he actually kills the people that have done bad things by basically stealing their soul, which adds another rag to his costume, or his uniform, or whatever you want to call it. So basically what he does is that after technically he can basically steal the soul of anyone he wants just by thinking about it, but generally what he likes to do is he likes to wear the victim down first before he starts doing it, because if he doesn't, they might be able to resist the soul sapping or whatever. So technically generally what he likes to do is he likes to wear them down, beat them down first, and then steal their soul, which basically leaves the body like an empty husk, and the soul is now trapped with him and a rag is now added to his suit. So basically what happens is that when he steals the soul, he actually is able to call on the strength, speed, durability, and everything like that, even the memories and the experiences of the souls that he's basically kept with him. So basically that means that if he wants to, he can call on many different souls' strength and speed. Basically, if he wants to call on one person's strength, he can pretty much double his strength. And he can keep doing that with many other people. He has said though that that doing so has actually sapping the soul of someone has actually made him feel stomach pains and nausea. But that's not going to play in much, at least not much, into the fight. But it is difficult for him to use the abilities or call on the strength or anything like that of a higher number of people. Meaning that he'd be able to use it for 20 people more than 100 people. But that's actually something he's been able to do before. But he hasn't been able to go much higher than 100 because it's just way too difficult for him to handle. But it does mean that he can call on the experiences and memories of other people, especially if he's taken on super powered people and taken their souls. He can actually use the powers of those people. Now, I don't know any people that he's actually taken the soul of. Maybe I should have done more research on that, but whatever. I don't really know any of that, but just to be on the safe side, let's just say that he didn't take away any superpowered beings' souls. I honestly doubt that's the case, but I'm just going to assume that he didn't, because I don't want to assume that he has this amazing ability that he might not have at all. But the point is that what I definitely know he can do is he can basically increase his strength 10-fold, 20-fold, 30-fold, not just strength, but also his durability. He can, survive. It's almost like his victims that he's collected, his souls, are almost like punching for him. It's like they're taking the hits for him and stuff like that. That's why it increases his strength and durability and speed. And the person himself, Ragman, is generally a very agile man, but just like all of his other physical stats and mental stats, if you want to call it that, he can increase it just as long as he calls on the souls of the victims. So now some of you may be wondering, well, does this count as outside help? Well, I can't really do that, and the reason for that is because, let's just say, if I was having, a Batman versus, one of my earlier episodes was Batman versus Moon Knight. If I let Batman call on Nightwing just whenever he wanted, that is outside help. That is obviously outside help, because it's not just Batman fighting. With this guy, however, it is still technically just him fighting with his own ability like with his own suit, and basically me saying that he would not be able to use these people for help is like me saying that I'd have to take away the suit from him, and that's not really fair. That leaves him with nothing to do, because that's the point of his character. The point of Batman's character is not to call on other people whenever he needs it, or at least that's not his main purpose. With Ragman, that's essentially his purpose, and basically like me saying he can't do that is me taking away his suit, meaning he can't do anything, which actually wouldn't really make sense because he can call on his suit whenever he wants. But anyway, now I'm getting off topic. So yeah, he can basically do all of that stuff. But like I said, doing a higher number makes him it's very difficult for him to do, and it probably tires him out more. But that's not all the suit can do. He also has limited flight, which pretty much translates to simple levitation, and he can also teleport very long distances whenever he wants. He's also said to be virtually indestructible when he's in the suit, basically meaning he can't really be destroyed, but it also means that, however, his suit is specifically weak to fire, which makes sense, it's just made out of rags. Technically, well, they're not ordinary rags because, they keep souls of victims, but they are just as durable as regular rags are, so he is pretty weak to fire. But other than that, it's pretty hard to destroy this guy, or let alone, like kill him or anything like that. It's difficult, not impossible, but it is difficult. And he can also actually like I said, he can call on the suit whenever he wants. He can also talk to the suit. He can, which kind of, I guess, implies that the suit also has a mind of its own, because what he can do is, even though while he's speaking out loud when he's talking to the suit, when the suit speaks back, only he can hear it, which I guess gives him an extra level of on-the-spot strategy, maybe, but I guess, it's almost like the Venom symbiote, how it's like it has a life of its own, and it can talk to him. So, yeah, that's something pretty cool. So those are the main abilities that Ragman has, basically, like, calling on the memories and strength and speed and, of all the people that he's taken before. He's taken on more than 100, but he doesn't really want to go over that because it will tire him out. He can also suck the souls of his victims out of the body, especially much easier when they're wear down or when they're beaten down really hard, which he can obviously do. Fly, teleportation, talking to the suit, stuff like that. So he does obviously have a weakness to fire. So I really feel that's all I really need to say about Ragman. Again, I might have missed a few things here and there just because I really didn't know much about him before. But you know what? I think that's really all I have to say about him. So now let's move on to Ragdoll. Now Ragdoll, if some of you don't know, he is a DC villain. He's primarily known in the Secret Six comic book. I believe it had its own comic book. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But that was the team, Secret Six, which I believe also had, I'm probably not going to get all of this right, but it had Bane, Scandal Savage, which is Vandal Savage's daughter, Catman, I might as well just say Ragdoll, and two more members that I can't think of right now. Oh, Deadshot. Deadshot was one of them. I can't think of the other member. But yeah, so he was basically in the Secret Six. He has worked by himself before, but generally that's where he lies. He works with other characters, primarily the Secret Six. So the main power that Ragdoll has is that he's actually an expert contortionist. He can actually go into humanly impossible or inhuman. He has inhuman flexibility essentially, and that really he can twist his body into a variety of shapes, which is something I guess very useful when you're fighting someone. I guess it gives you more. It might give you more options when you're fighting someone in hand-to-hand combat. That's actually he is a pretty good combatant, fairly good combatant, also an adequate marksman. He's actually fought Batman one-on-one at least once before, which already speaks volumes. That's actually something Ragman has already done as well, but still that proves that Ragdoll is capable of handling himself on his own. So yeah, also adequate marksman, and the expert contortionist. He does, however, need to inject himself with some sort of medicine in order to do what he does, because if he doesn't, his bones will actually break out of the flesh and he will rip himself apart. That's how impossible this guy can flex himself or whatever. So yeah, he needs to inject himself with a medicine. Obviously, I don't think it won't come that much into the fight. It won't play that much of a factor, unless the fight goes on for a really long time, in which case it'll wear off and he needs to do it again or whatever. But I really don't think that most likely won't happen. More times than not, it won't happen. Another main thing to mention about him is that he is mentally unstable. He is practically insane, which means he's not going to be coming up with any game-winning strategy strategies, at least not anytime soon, but he is actually a master hypnotist. So that's something interesting, and something that he can obviously use to his advantage when he has his victims where he wants them. So yeah, believe it or not, that's really all there is to say about Ragdoll. Like, he is a master contortionist, that's what he's mainly known for, but generally he does work with other characters, and while he isn't that physically intimidating, and while he isn't all too versatile, to be fair to him, he doesn't have any easily exploitable weaknesses either. The only one that you could, I guess, eventually figure out is that he needs medicine in order to keep going with his contortionist abilities. But even that, you wouldn't know that going in, and it just most likely won't happen. But he, like I said, he is mentally unstable. He's probably not going to be coming up with any good strategies anytime soon. Yeah, I feel that's really all I need to say about him. So, who do I think would win this fight? Now, when I first heard of this fight, I do this a lot now when I say, like, I first heard of this fight. When I first heard this fight, I really didn't know much about Ragman. And I didn't really know much about Ragdoll either, but, you know, I didn't really know who would win simply because I didn't know enough about either of the characters. And while I still don't feel I know everything about I don't know everything about any character, but while I still don't feel I know all too much about these characters, I really don't think you need to go into too much detail to realize that Ragdoll doesn't stand that much of a chance against Ragman. Now, obviously, this is just my opinion, and you are all entitled to your own opinions. If you believe that Ragdoll would win, you can comment down why or why not. But please just hear me out before you do any of that, because who knows, maybe I'm able to change your mind, and at the very least, you probably learned something new. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. Who knows? But anyway, let's move on to why I think Ragman would win against Ragdoll. Now, there's obviously the obvious answer, you know, just that Ragdoll doesn't have any fire with him, and that essentially means that he cannot destroy Ragman or kill him or anything like that. But even if there wasn't that ability that he had with him, like that he can't be destroyed or anything like that, even if he didn't have that, I would still easily give the edge to Ragman. Simply because even though Ragdoll has this is something I forgot to mention in the analysis portion. Even though Ragdoll does have above average endurance, like he can actually take hits that would render a normal human unconscious, he definitely is not going to be able to stand up to someone who can call on the strength of nearly 100 people. Obviously, that is going to be very difficult for him to do, but even if I lowball it saying that, like, it's easy for him to do 30, because it's probably easy for him to do even more, that still means 30 times the strength of a regular person, maybe even more than that. So that's something that obviously Ragdoll is not going to be able to keep up with, because Ragdoll is essentially a regular person with maybe above average fighting skill, above average endurance, and above average marksmanship abilities. So it's really nothing, like, Ragman essentially is too versatile and way too powerful for Ragdoll to handle, and eventually, like, maybe Ragdoll, if it was like a one-on-one fight, he might get a good few hits in there, even though Ragman has also fought Batman, and that's probably Ragdoll's best fighting feat. So even though he might get some good hits on him, eventually Ragdoll's going to become overwhelmed, because Ragman can essentially teleport all over the place. He can even levitate himself, which just gives him more maneuverability in general, and he can just keep calling on strength, speed. He's been able to call on enough speed easily to basically, like, avoid bullets, avoid automatic fire, and that's already something insane, and this was something that he was easily able to do. Now, like, imagine if he tries to, like, take 70, who knows how many souls he can, like, call on in order to, like, increase his stats. And like I said, he might have even sucked the soul of someone who has, like, amazing abilities, meaning that whenever he wants, he can call on those abilities. So again, I'm going to assume that he doesn't have any of that, because I don't want to make any assumptions, but even so, that just furthers why Ragman could easily win this. And even if he doesn't, like I said, he has the memories of probably fighters in the past, making his fighting ability even greater. Because, like, all the memories, experiences, strength, speed, durability, all of that stuff, he's just going to keep overwhelming Ragdoll. And even when Ragdoll does get the upper hand, if he gets the upper hand, Ragman can just keep calling on more souls to use. Not only that, but like I said, he can talk to his own cloak or his own suit or whatever you want to call it, for better strategy. Because like I said, I don't want to call Ragdoll an idiot, but he doesn't come up with all too good strategies, and he has to rely on other people to do a lot of the fighting with him. Because if you haven't noticed, Ragdoll isn't too strong. His main power is really just flexibility. And he doesn't, and even though he is an adequate marksman, he doesn't have any guns with him or anything like that. And even though I said that he is a hypnotist, he's not anyone like the Ringmaster who could literally just like stare at you and hypnotize you or anything like that, or a Purple Man, anything like that. He's probably more one of those guys who like, you are getting very sleepy, probably something more like that, which is something that he's definitely not going to be able to do in the heat of battle. Lastly, the soul sucking. That sounds really weird. But just like, he's gonna be able to like tap into his soul, possibly at the very beginning of the battle. Like I said, Ragman does like to beat down on his opponents first before he does that. But if he wants to, he could probably suck the soul of Ragdoll at the very beginning of the fight, leaving him an empty husk at the very beginning. And even if he doesn't do that, I have no doubt in my mind that he'd be able to wear Ragdoll down in order for him to do it extremely easily. So I just think that because of all the energy and all the strength that he, and like all this, like all of these stats or whatever that he can call on, enhanced strength, speed, durability, everything like that, mental or physical, and just his like overwhelming versatility advantage over Ragdoll. I just feel that that's too much for Ragdoll to handle, and because Ragdoll is fairly close to a normal human, even though he does, like, again, he's an expert contortionist and stuff like that, it's just, like, Ragman actually has, like, real powers that's going to, like, it's way too much for, like I said, it's way too much for Ragdoll to handle, and eventually he's going to be overwhelmed, and his soul, in no doubt in my mind, his soul will be sucked, and it will become another rag for Ragman to use and to tap into. So, in my opinion, the winner is Ragman. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed this episode simply because I got to know more about characters that I didn't know all too much about, which is always something nice. Like I said, I always want to learn more, and I love teaching you guys about these characters, assuming you guys didn't know too much about these characters already. They are pretty minor, but whatever. If you did enjoy this episode, please give me a like. Comment down below everything you thought of it, if I got something wrong. If you agree or disagree, please tell me why. And if you could subscribe to my channel, that'd be so great. That would really help me out. That would honestly mean the world to me. I'm making these videos much more often now that I have more time. Obviously, when I don't have time, I don't make videos all too often, but when I do have time, I do deliver, because this is like my fourth video I've posted in a row, I believe, day after day. So hopefully I'll be able to keep up this trend, but then again, tomorrow is Christmas, so I don't really know if I'm going to be able to get any episodes out, or any videos out in general, but who knows, possibly. But yeah, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. Please comment down any ideas you want to see for the next season of Who'd Win and Why. Because the next season is going to be a regular season. It's not Christmas or anything like that. You're not restricted to that. So please comment down everything you want to say, and any ideas you have, especially if you haven't suggested anything yet. I'll be more likely to do that because I want as many people to get their ideas into a season, in this case being season 6, as possible. So, and also if you're a returning subscriber, you know that I do have a Q&A, so if you want to leave comments and leave questions for me, just go to that video. It's probably one of my more recent videos, so just go to that announcement video and then comment down any of your questions. Yeah, so guys, I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I did, and thank you guys so much for watching. And next time on Who'd Win and Why, the Christmas mid-season finale, we got a battle royale of the future Robins. Nightwing versus Red Hood versus Red Robin. See you all then.